Welcome to The Kingstonian, a podcast that profiles individuals who are passionate about what they do for a living, about what organization they belong to, or simply passionate about the community they are a part of. Hello there and welcome. My name is Dave Cunningham. With the recommendations from all of our healthcare providers to stay in place at home, we are trying something a little different. I'm at home, and so is our guest. And with the technology available to us, we are having a conversation. That guest was one of three vice chairs of the recent 2020 Tim Hortons Brier held in Kingston. We spoke about his passion for the game, the excitement of bringing a national competition to Kingston, and his aborted vacation to Florida as COVID-19 spread to North America. Here is our conversation with John Ryce. So John, welcome to the program.
Yeah, nice to be here.
You really love to curl, don't you?
I do. I'm hooked on the sport.
What is it about curling that really turns your crank?
Well, I got into it seriously about 10 years ago. I had done it for about maybe the last 20 years, just once a year with a bonspiel that our company had in Gannoquay, and once a year, but I was by no means a curler. But then we decided to try something different, and we gave up bowling to try a different sport, and we went to a learn to curl session on a Saturday afternoon, and we signed up and we started curling the next day, Sunday afternoon. What
is it about the sport that you like?
It's the whole social aspect. It's a lot harder than it looks. They make it look pretty easy on TV. The sport itself is more complicated, and some people that haven't played it said it's not, it's not a hard sport, but it really is, and you can get a really good workout out of it. And it's a kind of sport that basically anyone can play.
Does the competitive aspect appeal to you?
Oh, yeah, Dave, you know me well enough. Absolutely, and sometimes a little bit too much so, but they have different levels, and there's leagues that's not so competitive, and I mean, it's always nice to win, but the good thing about not winning is you get a free drink afterwards.
That's right. Yeah. I haven't curled against you, but I have played euchre against you, so I am aware of your competitiveness. Now, you got involved with the Royal Kingston Curling Club, which is the one located on Days Road at Front Road.
Yeah, that's right.
And you've been there how long as a member?
About 10 years, right when I really started curling.
Okay. So when you get involved with an organization, you tend to jump in with both feet.
Well, I got involved with curling, and then after my first year, I was asked to join the board. So I've been on the board now for 8 years, and I was president for 2016 to 2018. And I'm just finishing the end of this month. I'm off the board. I'm just finishing my 2-year term as past president.
And what is it that you like about that particular club as opposed to some others?
Well, I guess for me, it was the closest club to where we lived. It was brand new. It was built, I want to say brand new, it was built in 2006 now, because Queens bought our old property down on Clergy Street and provided us with enough money to build this brand new facility out on Days Road there. It's just a beautiful facility. And on top of that, we're the second oldest curling club in North America. That didn't play in my decision, but it certainly has played in the last few years at the club as far as what the board has been doing.
Now, the club is what, over 200 years old, right?
200 years old this year, yep. It was founded in 1820.
Okay. Now, your involvement with the club led to the decision on the part of folks in town to try and get the Brier to come to Kingston.
Yes.
And so, how did that all come about?
So in 2016, I struck a committee. I was president then at the Royal Kingston, and we struck a committee called the 200th Anniversary Committee, because we knew in no time our 200th anniversary was going to be here. And one of those brainstorming sessions came the idea of bringing a big curling event to Kingston, like we had the Scotties here in 2013. And some people said, well, that's a crazy idea. And I said, well, you don't know if you don't ask, so let's ask. And that kind of got the ball rolling. And by no means was it just our initiative. There's lots of other individuals in Kingston that grabbed a hold of it. Megan Knott at Tourism Kingston, she was instrumental in getting this thing going and helping us win the bid. Ken Thompson, Linda Lott were two of my co-vice chairs of the Brier, and for me, it was a dream come true, and for it to go off the way it did, it was just amazing. Yeah, so Ken Thompson, he curls out of the Cattarauquay Curling Club. He's been involved with huge curling events for, I think, at least the past 30 years. So he was a big part of us getting the Brier. Linda Lott is a past president of the Royal Kingston Curling Club. She's a good friend of mine. She's also on the board. She's part of the Greater Kingston Curling Association, which is 5 clubs in the Kingston area. So Garrison Curling Club, Cataraqui Curling Club, Royal Kingston, then the Gananoque Curling Club, the Napanee Curling Club. So they kind of amalgamated as far as a group together, Greater Kingston Curling, when we had the Scotties, and they've stayed with that group, and they helped us win the bid as well.
So talk a little bit about the planning process to get the bid to come to Kingston.
Well, it all started with basically a competition. So when you bid on a big event like the Brier, you have to convince Curling Canada to come to your city, and you have to put some money forward. So we had to raise some money, and so we have a lot of partners that have big stake in having the Brier here. The reason, I mean, we raised like $1.1 million, but the economic spin-off of the Brier is $11 to $15 million. So it's a huge benefit for the city, especially end of February, first week of March. Not a lot going on in the city of Kingston, or probably any city as far as that goes. So it's a huge economic spin-off for us.
Now, what about the Leon Center in terms of getting cooperation from them to set things up the way you wanted it to be set up for the event?
Yeah, Leon Center and the Springer family, they were amazing. Obviously, we have to kick the Kingston Frontenacs out for basically 2 weeks, or I guess it's over 2 weeks, because we needed almost a week to get the ice ready, and then we needed to tear everything down afterwards. And then the event itself was 10 days long, so it was over 2 weeks. So a lot of road trip games. But the Leon Center, they were fabulous. Curling Canada were more than pleased with the facility. The Brier Patch we had downtown, just everyone came together, and I was waiting for something to go wrong, and really everything went right. It was just amazing. Yeah.
Now, when you were talking about putting together the rink and getting things ready for the curlers to come to Kingston, what kind of arrangements did you make with the local hotel industry and the restaurant industry and the bars in town? What kind of cooperation did you get from them?
Well, yeah, so that was all part of our bid. We have to guarantee so many rooms for Curling Canada, so many rooms for the curlers, so many rooms for their families, and at a certain rate. And we knew, I mean, the rooms have been basically sold out for over a year, but that was all part of our bid. So the downtown Kingston played a big part of it. We pitched the idea of having a Brier Village, which didn't quite go the way that we originally planned it, but really the downtown did embrace the whole Brier. They showed the Brier colors. They had Brier scarves. They had Brier signs in their windows. And the comments from the athletes and the families and the fans were nothing but positive.
Now, I didn't get a chance to get downtown, but I know that the Brier Patch was something that appealed to a lot of people, and it appealed to the folks at Curling Canada as well. So describe what the Brier Patch was for those who had not been there.
So Brier Patch is, I believe, since 1985. It's been ongoing every year. It's basically a big bar, a big party. What happened, that was one of our major worries, is how where we're going to have the Brier Patch, because we don't have a downtown convention center. They wanted a building that would hold 2,400 people at minimum. When we had the Scotties 2013, they had the Heartstop Lounge, which is the equivalent of the Brier Patch, at the Memorial Center, and they had free bus rides. But what the problem was, a lot of people would walk out of the Leon Center and not get on the bus and go to where the Brier Patch would have been. So we had to overcome that obstacle. So we came up with this tent. Well, this tent isn't really a tent. It's 44 meters by 55 meters, held 2,200 people, and it was just amazing, and was right across the road. Like, you literally walked out the front door, walked across the street, and walked in the door of the Brier Patch, and it helped. It was a lot of work and a lot of headaches getting it done and getting the permits and getting it all up. And I always had my fingers crossed we wouldn't have a big snowstorm or big winds. One night they were putting up, it was quite windy, but everything went really, really well. And it was just amazing. And lots of nights it was packed and you couldn't even get in because people come after a game and they were waiting outside to get in.
Now, the Brier Patch was located on the parking lot right across from the Leon Center.
That's right. Correct? That's right.
Now,
So,
it also served as a meeting place for fans to hook up with the curlers who were in town as well, correct?
That's right. So they had scheduled, so the whole sport of curling, as I mentioned earlier, it's a social sport. So even curling at the highest level, They had autograph sessions. You'd come, you could sit down, and there'd be a team having a drink, having a beer, whatever. You could sit down and have a beer with them. That's just the way it is. It's not like a lot of professional sports where they kind of keep the athletes separate from the fans. This is totally up close and personal, which is, I think, one of the advertising tags they use, is you can sit and talk to the curlers or their families. It's just again, amazing. And they have lots of other activities to do in the patch as well.
You mentioned earlier that there would be a financial impact for the city on the positive side with all the people in town and all the money that would be left in town. Too early yet to figure out what the actual numbers were, correct?
That's right. I think we're going to get a report, I think September, sometime. They are going to figure things out, so we'll know. But from past history, they tell us $11 to $15 million economic spinoff.
From what I have read, Curling Canada has been quite pleased with the hosts' activities and the way that this whole thing came together in downtown Kingston. Yeah.
They're very, very happy, which was our goal from the start. Our goal from the start was to have a successful event and have them come back a lot sooner than 63 years, because the Brier was here once before. That was in 1957 at the old Memorial Center. Mm-hmm. So it was 63 years. They've promised us it will not be 63 years again before they come back.
Now let's talk a little bit about you as a curler watching these guys on the ice who are of national prominence and skill. What was it like for you to watch them?
It was just amazing, time after time, the shots that they not only do they make, but they actually call them. Like sometimes we'll make a fluky shot, but they make shots and they line them up and they say this is what they're going to do, and they actually do it. And the quality of the curlers, 8 of the teams are the top 14 curling teams in the world, not just Canada. So so that's the depth. So one of those teams, now it's Team Gushu from Newfoundland, is Team Canada. And they were supposed to be playing over in Scotland right now, but that's been canceled, obviously, for everything that's been going on. But that's how good the quality of players are. And I was watching a highlight reel of the shots from the Kingston Brier, and there was like 10 of them. They could have picked more unbelievable shots that normally you get 1 or 2 out of something like this. Yeah. There were so many shots, like sometimes game winners to get 3 points because they were down by 2. And just to watch it over and over again, it's just amazing.
Now, I have a cousin who lives in southeastern Ontario, and she and her husband are avid curlers, and they came up to watch a day's worth of games. And one of the comments they made, in addition to what you've just said, is the fact that there were 4 sheets to watch at the same time, and trying to focus on one sheet over another was a problem. Is trying to take advantage of seeing all of these great curlers, but there are 4 games going on at one time. Yeah,
it makes it very difficult. It's actually almost a pleasure when you get down to just the playoffs, and then you not follow just 1 or 2 sheets. But what makes it a little bit easier is Curling Canada or TSN. They film one game, and you can get radio headsets or bring your radios in, and you can actually focus on a game and hear all the commentary. And I learned that from the Scotties, is if you're just trying to watch 4 games and no commentary, it gets very confusing because you're watching your game and all of a sudden you hear cheering, you're trying to figure out what happened, but by that time it's already happened, so it's too late.
Right.
But when you have the headset on and listen to the game, it's a whole lot easier. At least you focus on the one game. And it can be a little bit confusing for sure.
Now, before we leave the Brier, I guess one final comment is that this offers an excellent opportunity for Kingston to get noticed by the rest of the country with all the TV coverage that has been taking place.
Yeah, that's right. It was something like 90 hours, I think, of national TV coverage through TSN. Kingston was already ranked, I think, 3rd in Ontario for hosting sporting events, and this is certainly going to help boost our rankings, and I think 12 in the country. So this event, and it being as successful as it is, we exceeded our budget revenue, we exceeded our attendance revenue, we exceeded the patch revenue. So, I mean, Curling Canada couldn't ask much more.
No. You did a great job on this, and congratulations on that to you and your team.
Yeah, thanks.
So, John, the Brier's over. You need a vacation. So you get in the car and you drive down south. What was the plan?
The plan was to go to Florida for almost 8 weeks. We had a place rented, and we left. So the Brier ended on the Sunday night, March 8th, late at night, 10:30, 11 o'clock. We spent all day Monday packing the car and getting things ready to go, and we left at 4 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday, March 10th, to drive to Florida. and took 2 days to get there. So we had a 15-hour drive the first day and then an 8-hour drive second day. So second day was quite easy actually compared to the first. And we got this place in Florida because, as you know, Dave, I retired last May, and we're looking to become snowbirds, and we're pretty excited about our trip to Florida and our first venture into being a snowbird. And we got there, everything was good, and we enjoyed where we're staying. The weather was 28 to 30 degrees every day, and the pool was nice and warm, and they had lots of activities going on.
So how long before talk about the COVID-19 epidemic or pandemic started to be the main topic of conversation?
Well, so we got there on March 11th, and it was probably March, it was only 3 days later, whatever, 3 or 4 days later, when all of a sudden things started to pick up steam. I had attended a few events at this place that we were staying at, and all of a sudden they started canceling events. And it didn't seem they were taking it very serious down in Florida at first. By the time we left, though, they knew this was serious. And it got to a point where my wife was getting quite nervous. I was quite happy to hunker down, stay down there. We checked with our insurance company, and we still had medical coverage because that was our biggest worry. And some snowbirds were going home because they were told that they had 10 days to get home and they wouldn't have coverage. So we stayed there for a few more days, but it just got to be too much, and we knew it was going to get worse before it got better. And even though we had almost an 8-week vacation, we cut it like 6 weeks short. So it was kind of sad that way, but better to be home and safe. And it was really nice. Even the Canadian border guard said, "Welcome home." It really resonated with me that, we are home. We're on Canadian soil. And yes, if we get sick, it's a bad thing, but we're home. We're sick in our home. We're sick in our own hospital. So
and you've got support around you.
Yeah.
When you were down in Florida and news started to come out about the pandemic, what was the news coverage like, if you want to compare it to what you might have seen in Canada should you have been here?
Well, I think, again, they didn't seem to be taken as serious at first, and lots of people down there are saying, "Oh, just stay here. You're probably safer here than back home." As we know now, that's not the case, and the United States is probably in a lot of trouble with the cases they have and how much it's accelerating. So, I mean, it was funny, though. You go in the grocery stores, same thing. The toilet paper was gone. The paper towels was gone. The wipes were all gone. I just didn't quite get that. And I guess we were talking to lots of people back here at home, and it was the same thing here. But it's just they just seemed a little bit more relaxed about it than what I sensed was going on back here in Kingston.
Now, when you got to the border, you mentioned that the border security people welcomed you back to Canada. Did you get a sense that there was more information they were passing along to you than normal when you come back from the visit to the States? Well,
yes. He was wearing gloves and wearing a mask, so that wasn't – the mask definitely wasn't normal. He gave us the COVID-19 sheet. We already knew everything we had to do, but he made sure that we understood what had to be done in the self-isolation. We've got 3 days left of self-isolation. Actually, exactly 3 days left right now. We've been self-isolated. We've had family and friends get us groceries. I've had a few lumber supplies delivered to me because I'm doing some work in the basement. So I've been keeping busy.
I know that about you, that you are a hands-on kind of guy, and sitting still isn't in your repertoire.
No, for me to sit and just watch a bunch of movies, it would not go well with me, and I'd go crazy. But right now, it's been great. I've been spending my days in the basement working, basically from about 9 to about 5 every day, and then, it's been good.
Now, my intention is, with this series of programs that we're starting today with you, is to talk to other folks about this whole business of self-isolation and staying at home, which in your case is probably the same thing, because once your self-isolation is over, you're basically going to stay at home, but you may have the opportunity for visitors, but then they discourage that as well. What I'm interested in is how you feel about the business of being cooped up in the house. Like you can't go anywhere. And that's something that's different really for most of us.
Yeah, I think for us is we really can't go anywhere. Whereas if we were just like everyone else that aren't on the 14-day self-quarantine, we could actually go for a walk or walk around the block and just do the social distancing. So it's kind of like being told you can't do something, and I just want to go for a walk around the block, but we can't, not yet. So, and that's fine. I totally get it, and everyone has to, do the same thing. So I guess for me, it's the whole thing is knowing that when I can actually go if I want to, then it's okay, and do the social distancing. We can go get our own groceries. It'll be nice. But yeah, everyone has to take this serious, and I think most people are.
Exactly. Now, when you are cooped up in the house, I know that you do some jobs around the house, hands-on renovations or additions or whatever you have been doing in terms of keeping yourself busy. What other sorts of things have you and your wife been doing in the house while you've been dealing with this self-isolation?
Well, I also do a handful of tax returns for some family and friends every year, so there was ample time for me to get them all done, and they're all done except for 2 more I have to do. So that's one thing to keep me busy. And we've watched some Netflix and caught up on some programs that we otherwise would never get a chance to watch because we don't watch a whole lot of TV, but it's been a chance to watch some things that normally we wouldn't get to watch.
That's a question I never thought of. So people are binge watching various series on television. Which ones are you sort of focused on now? I'm going to take a survey here.
Well, that's okay. We just watched the whole season of Ozarks because it just came out. And it's 10 episodes, about an hour long each, straight, no commercials and that. And so we watched the last 2 episodes last night. I said to my wife, now it's sad. We have to wait another whole year or another 51 weeks for the next season to come out again. So we watched it all since we've been home, or just came out last week. So it's like, yeah, it's good, but it's also bad.
Now, what's the Ozarks about? I haven't seen that show.
It's about, actually, it's kind of funny, Dave. It's about a financial planner. Gets into money laundering and gets in with the drug cartel in Mexico and that. So it's a pretty dark program. There's lots of violence and stuff in it, but it's
So it's about a financial planner.
Yeah, that's
which is what you and I both did before we retired.
That's right. That's why I say it's kind of funny, but yeah, he's a money launderer and he gets in really deep, and there's lots of violence in the show, but it's actually there's twists and turns in it, so it's kind of it's intriguing for sure.
We've just about run out of time on the program, and I want to thank you very much for taking the time to chat with us and tell us about the Brier and about your adventures down south and return home. And we hope all things go well for you in the next 3 days, and then you'll get the opportunity to get outside and take a walk around the block. Thank you, John.
Yeah, okay. Thanks very much, Dave.
Theme music for the program is Stasis Oasis, a tune written and performed by Kingston musician Tim Aylesworth. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions about any of our episodes, please send a note to the Kingstonian Podcast Facebook page. This is Dave Cunningham from Kingston, Ontario. Thank you for listening. Until next time.